Hello everyone, Social Coach Michael Knight here, and today what we're going to be talking about is how the act of disqualifying yourself can actually lead to the generation of attraction. Now I know what you're probably thinking, you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're telling me to disqualify myself, to actually tell another person the reasons that I'm not good enough for them, and that's going to somehow create attraction? Well, not quite. This is actually a much more nuanced video, a little bit more intermediate to advanced topic. And by the end of it, you're going to understand it, no problem. But before we jump into it, please remember to like and subscribe, since that's going to be doing me a huge favor when it comes to helping me build this channel. And also a big shout out and thanks to my Patreon subscribers. If you haven't become one already, please consider doing so, and you can get access to a bunch of bonus material. First, let's clarify what I mean by disqualify oneself. I don't mean just listing off all your faults, all the reasons you don't think you're good enough, talking in some self-deprecating manner, and be like, oh, I can't believe you like me. No, I don't mean that at all. What I really mean is not so much even disqualifying yourself or necessarily disqualifying the other person. I mean, that definitely could come off me and like, yes, you're just too stupid for me. You know, nothing like that. The real idea is disqualifying the thought of you guys potentially being together, the person you're attracted to or wanting to get to know, right? Think of the reality of a normal, beautiful girl's life. All the time, every single guy that's coming up to her, the majority of them are hitting on her and wanting her approval and wanting her to like them and wanting to be with her. And they're trying to qualify themselves to her. Now, what does the act of you early on in interaction disqualifying the thought of you ever being together do? You know, you do it very in a fun way, like, oh, I don't know, I could never date a girl who likes this movie. I'm not sure that we could get along. Oh, you seem like a Ferrari girl. I'm a Ford truck guy. You know, Ferrari girls, high maintenance, always breaking down. I need something reliable. I don't know if we could get along, right? Like this, something flirty, something like that, where, you're just putting the idea out there that you're not really chasing. You're not even sure that this is a relationship you would want. And this communicates a few things. It communicates one thing, you have some standards, right? You want to evaluate the other person before you maybe pursue them, unlike every other guy who just sees the beautiful girl and runs after her. And the other thing is, if the girl feels like you're not, chasing her so hard that you don't need her validation, that you're actually evaluating her, she'll think you're more of an honest person. Because if she knows you're after her, then she thinks everything you're saying to her is to win her over. Now, if you have disqualified the thought of you guys ever being together early on, or at least not fully disqualified it, but put some doubts that it's something you're even interested in, now her mind's like, well, now I know this guy's not necessarily after me, and since he isn't, I can now trust what he's saying as being honest, instead of just thinking that maybe he's just telling me what he thinks I want to hear in order to win me over. And if I can trust what he's saying as being honest, that means I can use this information to get to know him, because it's accurate information. And if I get to know them, then ironically, that's where real connections can then be made. And then later on in the interaction, of course, you can pursue the person if you want. But by the act of just showing a little bit of disqualification in the beginning, the thought like, oh, I'm not like every other guy, I'm not just chasing you so hard, you actually make an opportunity for the person to trust what you're saying more, to get to know you more, and for a better connection actually to be formed. The other thing that the act of disqualifying the concept of you two being together does is it kind of makes the other person, chase you instead of you being the person chasing them, right? Especially if it's a very attractive girl who's so used to getting attention from everyone. She's now kind of curious, like, whoa, 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 this guy's different. What's different about him? Why isn't he like every other guy who's chasing me? Why isn't he like every other guy who's trying to convince me to be with him? He's not only not trying to convince me to be with him, but he actually even said from the start, he kind of feigned a little bit of disinterest. And again, I'm not saying be dishonest and feign disinterest. The best thing to be is actually a person who has values, and you're a person who has standards and who wants to evaluate another person to see if they, live up to those. That's the type of man you want to become in the long run. In the beginning, I guess, it's a little bit fake it till you make it. I'm just telling you, don't get, overly chasing the person early on, and instead, try to communicate that you don't need them, right? You're not even sure if being with them is something you necessarily want until you get to know them more. And that's what I mean by being willing to initially disqualify the idea of you two potentially being together. And again, this way of disqualifying yourself should be done in a positive, fun way, right? It's not saying, well, I think I'm better than you, or I think I'm not good enough for you, or you're too stupid for me. You know, nothing like that. What you should be doing it is like, oh, you're too clever for me. I don't think we could get along, you know? But in a way where the energy is saying, you know, you're kind of flirting with the person, positive energy, but your words are literally disqualifying a relationship. Again, like, oh, I don't know. I think I'm way too old for you. You have too much energy for me. I'm just an old man now. Like, I don't think we could ever be together. But you say it in a flirty, fun way. But again, the words literally are disqualifying. It also gives the other person the opportunity to feel like they have won you over and that they're coming out the winner from the interaction. Because if at the beginning of the interaction, you're the one who seems kind of not sure about the person or not sure about you and them being together, but then by the end of the interaction, they see that you now are interested in them, they feel like, wow, this guy, you know, he had standards, but I won him over, and now I feel like I'm lucky to get to be with him because, you know, I was able to win him over. You know, that's the way most people want to feel. And through the act of qualifying themselves to you and trying to win you over, that whole time they've been investing actually in you. And that investment is also growing a stronger connection. It's also beneficial from the start to communicate that you're not a super thirsty, needy guy who just wants one thing from the other person. And that easily, again, can be done by simply disqualifying the fact that you don't even think you should be together or potentially shouldn't be together from the start. And again, that takes a lot of pressure out of the interaction. Because what does a super needy, thirsty guy, what does this communicate to the other person? It communicates many things, none of them positive. One of them being, oh, this person is inexperienced. It's like they're trying to seal the deal as quickly as they can before the other party figures out that there's something wrong with the deal. That's what this type of energy is communicating. And that's what disqualifying the idea of a relationship together from the start, or just putting a little doubt, or showing that you're a little choosy and you want to evaluate the other person, having some standards, that's what it can prevent. If you're interested in learning more about the key fundamental ideas behind attraction, then I highly recommend that you check out my book, which is linked to in the description below. In my book, I cover all the unattractive behaviors that if you simply quit doing them tomorrow, people would instantaneously find you more attractive. And for those of you who are super serious about getting this area of your life handled, and you just need someone to help you create an action plan to take you from point A to point B and point out your blind spots and really get you on the path to success, I also provide one-on-one coaching, and an application to this can also be found linked to in the description below. And by the way, guys, some of you have written me and you've kind of been burned in the past by other coaches saying, yeah, I signed up for this thing and it turned out I had some 21-year-old assistant running a 100-person webinar and I paid $3,000 for this. No, that's not what I'm doing at all. All it is one-on-one coaching. You're guaranteed to be working with me directly, not some unproven assistant. And you only have to pay for one session at a time. There's no long-term commitment. There's no upsell, higher products, none of that bullshit. It's very honest. If you have any other questions, there's a box for that in the application, and I'll be happy to answer any of your concerns. That's all for today. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, ciao.